name is Morgan Winfrey. This is my video where I will be labeling the skull. First, I'm going to start with the front of the skull. Here, I just have a sheet that lists everything that I have to label. With the front of the skull, here you can see the coronal suture. This is your frontal bone, your left and right parietal bone. And then here we have the nasal bone. Inside here we have the sphenoid bone a little to the left. If you're in the right eye, we have the ethmoid bone here, and then this here would be the lacrimal bone. This around the eye is the zygomatic bone. Here we have the maxilla. The maxilla is the bones that your top teeth are embedded into, and of course the mandible. The mandible would be the bones that your bottom teeth are embedded into. Under those teeth, you have two little holes. That is called the mental foramen. To the sides here, you have the temporal bone, on each side. You can also see that this is the sphenoid bone here, which goes inside the eye, and the same on this side, sphenoid, and then it's inside here. This here is called your optic canal. Inside the canal is like a arrow shape. This top part of what I call the arrow would be your superior orbital foramen. Then on the bottom would be your inferior orbital foramen. Above there, you have two holes above the eyes. The ones above the eyes are called the supraorbital foramen, and the ones below would be your infraorbital foramen. Inside the nose is the perpendicular bone. You can also see it inside the skull, which I will show you when I take the top of the skull off. And inside the mouth, which you can't exactly see, but in there would be your palatine bone. And around the zygotic bone, the zygomatic bone, is where you have the temporal process, okay? And then next we're going to move to the side of the top of the head. Like I said before, this is the frontal bone, your left and right parietal bone. This is your coronal suture. This is your sagittal suture, and this suture area here would be your lambdoid suture. Then to the side, you have of course, you have the sphenoid bone in there, the temporal here. This is your mandibular ramus is here on the mandible, of course. This is where you have the stylo process. This is the mastoid process, and this area there is where we would have the zygomatic process. In this little area right there is where you have the external auditory meatus. And then this suture area here is the squamous suture. And that's all for the side of the head. Next, we will take off the skull. So now we have taken the top of the skull off. This little area here, this is the ethmoid bone, and in the ethmoid bone is your perpendicular plate. Here to the right and all the way to the left, here and here would be your sphenoid bone, which you can also see on the outside. in the sphenoid bone, this little indentation here is where your sella turcica is, if I'm saying that right. Then there under the ethmoid, you have the crista galli and the cribriform plate. With the sphenoid, you have greater um, the greater wing, and here would be your lesser wing. For the foramen, first you have the foramen lacrimen. It's the first hole there. Next, a little bit up and to the right of here, you have the foramen ovale, and then next to the right of that is a smaller little hole, and that's your foramen spinosum. Under that, actually, my coloring pencil got stuck in there. That would be your keratoid canal. Then a little bit over is another little hole. That is your stylomastoid foramen, and under there is your foramen lacrimen. Um, under the greater wing here, you'll have the stylomastoid foramen, and then next over would be the jugular foramen. Under that closer is where we have the foramen magnum, is this hole here, and it also links to under here, is that little dent in there. Then next to that hole is in here, which kind of looks like a lima bean to me, this little indentation, is the occipital condyle. Okay, and all the way to the right, there is a tiny, tiny little hole all the way there to the right. That would be your internal acoustic meatus. And of course, on the outside here, I showed you that would be your external acoustic meatus. So that's all for the skull. And for the next video, we'll be doing the entire skeleton. Yay!